Hello, and welcome to BorderConnect's Virtual Workshop on our RNS-PARS tracking software, including our RNS Warehouse Arrival feature for sufferance warehouses. I'm Justin Knowlton, Marketing Coordinator here at BorderConnect, and in this workshop, we'll be joined by BorderConnect Sales Account Representatives, Egzon Muriqi, and Justin Guerard as they guide you through how to register for BorderConnect RNS, why you need RNS in addition to ACI eManifest. We'll also show you some in-depth overviews of the BorderConnect RNS-PARS software, how to use it, some tips and tricks along the way. In addition, we'll show you how to use BorderConnect's Warehouse Arrivals as a sufferance warehouse and how to transmit arrival messages to CBSA. So from here, I'll let Egzon take it and explain what the release notification system is.
Thank you, Justin. The PARS RNS track and release notification system is an all-in-one solution for clients. It allows carriers to arrive their freight at a sufferance warehouse and also allows carriers or sufferance warehouses to print off proof of releases advising CBSA of the freight. The freight has left the warehouse, that particular warehouse. So it's a great tool for highway carriers, sufferance warehouses, things like that when it comes to monitoring and tracking all of your Canada-bound shipments.
Great. Yeah, thanks for the information, Egzon. So Justin, how does one register for RNS-PARS, specifically with BorderConnect?
Okay, let me show my screen. It's actually very simple. And most of our carriers, especially the ones already using ACI manifesting, are probably already set up for RNS on their accounts. But if you're an existing carrier and you're not, when you mouse over the PARS shipments tab, you only see 2 options here instead of the normal 10. And when you click on the PARS shipments, you'll see your service is only enabled for light usage. So if you're an existing carrier and you're looking to get set up with RNS, basically you just want to head over to the rightmost account tab and click on the first option, the company details. From here, a little bit down the page, you'll see your Canadian carrier code list. Some companies, you may have multiple carrier codes, but you just want to find your actual carrier code. And then just follow it to the right, the little micro menu, the 3 dots. When you mouse over that, you'll see an option for an RNS registration. When you click on that, it'll take you to a page where you can actually fill in the information that's going to be pre-filled on the application. So if you have to change any of this, tweak it for your president or whoever, do so right now. But right when you're finished, you just click the RNS registration download link, and it's going to generate a PDF with the information you provided. So this is CBSA's application. It's going to have your company information, our contact info as well. And all you have to do as a carrier is just print your name on the first line, sign your name on the second line, print that off, send BorderConnect a copy of this completed form via email to admin@borderconnect.com. And then we will take care of the rest and email it to CBSA. They'll set up a profile, and usually around 5 business days, they'll get back to us with the setup RNS profile for your account. So it's really quick. All you really have to do is generate this document, sign it, send it back to us, and then just a little bit of a waiting game for a couple days. If you're a brand new carrier not already set up with us, basically just head to borderconnect.com. You'll see a sign up now tab. Click that and it'll take you to our online registration page. Go through the information, your company name, carrier code, contact information, all this jazz. It only takes a minute or 2. And then when you continue registration and log in for the first time, automatically when you log in, our system will send you these RNS applications to be completed as soon as you register as a new carrier. In addition to that, you can also get set up for RNS as a warehouse. If you are registering as a new warehouse, I'd recommend toggling off these default services for manifesting, because you probably don't need ACE or ACI manifest as a warehouse, but instead clicking on the ACI notices and also the RNS for warehouses. What this will do is on the application, just change the carrier code and the SCAT code field to your sublocation. And that way, when you go through the account creation process, your sublocation, your warehouse code is already on your account. And when you log in, the correct RNS forms are sent to you. The ones for the actual warehouse instead. If for whatever reason, when you register, you forget to do these, not a big deal. Just give us a call. It only takes us a minute to update and fix it. And it's a very simple process to do.
Great. That's awesome, Justin. Thank you. I notice here on the registration page, it has ACE ACI, register for ACE ACI, bracket RNS, which kind of leads me to the question I had. So why do people need RNS if they're already processing ACI eManifests?
Good question. Honestly, being truthful, you don't technically need RNS to process the ACI manifest. You can create and send an ACI just using BorderConnect without RNS and be 100% compliant. We don't recommend it. The RNS just makes everything easier, and it is very simple, easy. It doesn't cost anything to set up. There's really not a downside to getting it set up. Basically, what the RNS is when a carrier or when a customs broker files an entry on a cargo control number that starts with your carrier code, CBSA automatically sends us a message saying, hey, we received this transaction number for this specific PARS number. And then when we get that message from customs and we can see that that PARS number matches a PARS number on your manifest, basically what we're going to do is put that transaction number in your manifest and show you, hey, we've received the information that this PARS number is actually cleared by the broker already. This saves a lot of time and effort for you as the carrier because you don't have to jump around to Livingston, FedEx, Faro, all these different brokers and see what shipments are cleared and what shipments are not cleared.
Yeah, like the old days. I remember back in my previous years, you'd have to go and check the broker's websites and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of consolidates all cargo control numbers related to your carrier code. If it's been filed through the broker's system, it should show up as long as it was sent to CBSA, is what you're saying, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Same thing, a job before this one, I had favorite tabs where I had 20, 30 different brokers of all their websites PARS trackers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was annoying to see if everything was cleared. This makes it much easier.
Yeah, that's great. Huge time saver for sure.
Mhm.
So could RNS be basically, is it a beneficial extension to ACI?
Absolutely. Like I said, you can do ACI without it. I don't recommend it. It only enhances it and makes your life easier. In addition to basically a quick glance at our dashboard on your ACI manifest to see what's cleared and what's not, you also have the ability to send status queries on shipments. What this basically is you just type in up any PARS number you want, anything you're interested in, send a message to customs, hey, what's the status of this PARS number? Customs replies back, it's accepted, it's released, it's waiting for CBSA processing, or it's not on file at all. Basically, this is regarding the broker's entry side of things. So with that, you can kind of get an idea on how far along the broker process is with your entry. And another use case for it is if I gave my PARS to Egzon carrier and I'm no longer creating the manifest for it, well, Egzon takes care of it all and I want to know if it's released, I can actually still send a status query on that PARS and get the information. Hey, did my shipment cross? Whatever happened with that? And I can find out the whole details about it.
Yeah, and if not, have them reach out to the broker. But yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll definitely in a little bit, let's delve into the status queries and BorderConnect and all that good stuff as well. Thank you. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the RNS-PARS software and take a little look. Egzon, do you mind?
Yes, Justin, give me one moment, guys. I'll just share my screen here. Give me 1 sec. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So once the client signs up into BorderConnect and they're logged in, they'll be working off of the PARS shipment tab. PARS shipment tab has pretty much all the PARS listing. The PARS listings will have your newest shipments, your accepted shipments, your release shipments, your purge shipments, and your RMD shipments. We recommend the first step is going to your newest shipments. Click on newest shipments. The newest shipments pretty much advises of accepted Canadian shipments for the last 30 days. So they have an overview of all the shipments that are entering Canada. So as you can see in this demo account here, if I scroll down right here, there's an accepted Canadian shipments for the last 30 days right over here. And if I scroll down a little bit more, I'll be able to see release Canadian shipments for the last 7 days. So you actually have visibility on checking out your release shipments right over here. So the way it works is Canada Customs will accept the shipment. So once the shipment enters Canada, the shipment is considered accepted. Once the shipment has arrived and arrives to the warehouse and it's released from the warehouse, once it's ready to be, released from that particular sufferance warehouse, let's say, you will see it under your released Canadian shipments. And you can also view that right over here. So if you go to PARS shipments, click on release shipments, you should be able to view all of your release shipments right over here. So the release shipments will have the information, it will have the PARS number, the transaction number, the port of crossing, the drivers, and it also has the date. If you go right over here to your right, you should be able to print what's called a proof of release. So whenever the freight is released per CBSA, we always recommend printing a proof of release, or just for record keeping. This can help you for the future if you run into any AMPS penalties, or if CBSA wants to confirm, if maybe they're missing some sort of information, you have that proof of release that you can advise CBSA, hey, this is my truck. We arrived at that particular warehouse. We picked up the freight. It's released, and I have the proof of release from, in this case, BorderConnect. And if I click on the shipment, if I click view on the particular shipment, I'll have full visibility on that shipment. So I'll have the cargo control number, I'll have the transaction number, the driver. You'll have the broker that cleared it, because the way it works is once the freight goes to a particular sufferance warehouse, it needs to be cleared in most cases by a customs broker. And that's what allows that freight to be released from the warehouse and to enter the Canadian economy. If there are cases where, you don't need a customs broker, if the freight is like household goods, let's say, things like that, then that's when you wouldn't see a customs broker. But the RNS, as you can see, RNS provides you with full visibility on that. So if you're not quite sure on who the broker was, or if you have to reach back to a customs broker, you have all that information right here. You'll have the release ports. As you can see, the sublocations are there. So the sublocation is the warehouse. So whenever you're going somewhere, like whenever you're entering Canada, and this is supposed to go to what's called a sufferance warehouse, you have to advise CBSA of which warehouse it's going to go to. If I scroll down here. And you'll see from the shipment history, you'll see RNS shipment declaration accepted, released. Then there's a transaction number to follow with that particular release shipment. And as you can see, the proof of release here, the proof of release has the release date, the release time. It has the cargo control number associated with that particular shipment. It has the company name, the transaction number, and the port and the service option. And this is a 911 is just a integrated import declaration. It's customs, pretty much just way of advising. This is an integrated declaration, pretty much import, and the release code 4, which is goods released. So that means that everything has been released and it's good for pickup, pretty much. If you go up, yeah.
Sorry, Egzon, I just had a quick question.
Yes.
If you want to go back to the proof of release real quick.
Sure, yeah.
So this document here, in what scenarios would you have to use this proof of release document? And are they also considered official, valid information?
Yes.
Like say if you needed to do something and show Canada Customs this.
Yes. So there are cases where sometimes, let's say Canada Customs, maybe they're following up on a shipment. They say that, was the shipment released, or maybe they don't see it on their end. This document is CBSA certified. It's a great solution for carriers to use to advise CBSA that, hey, this shipment actually was released from this warehouse. So it provides Canada Customs with all that information. Whenever they're following up, there might be also AMPS penalties when it comes to. I can't really say, for many reasons, there might be some sort of AMPS penalties that maybe CBSA says that maybe the carrier didn't declare freight, or the carrier didn't set the correct shipment type. With these proof of releases, you're advising CBSA that this was the cargo control number. Sometimes there are cases where the cargo control number might be wrong. With the proof of release, you can advise CBSA that, no, this is actually the shipment. It arrived at this warehouse. It was released at this warehouse. And it can help you fight AMPS penalties and advise CBSA of the freight movement. Just because when it comes to these sort of freights, this freight has to go to a sufferance warehouse because it's still not ready for the Canadian economy. So it needs to go there until it's actually ready for release. And so sometimes CBSA might even want to know, hey, is it actually there, or did it leave? So this relief, the proof of release will provide all that information to CBSA.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get the proof, I guess, right off of BorderConnect.
You can, yes.
If you're, I guess, an audit or something like that in a scenario where Customs needs proof. Or scenarios where they forget to stamp it and then Customs is like, hey, was this released? And then where you can get electronically. Oh, great.
You can definitely do that, and you can print it from the proof, from the Canadian shipment viewing portion. You click on proof of release, print, email, fax it. You can do that. Or if you go to PARS shipments and you go to release shipments, and you find your shipment, let's say, and you just go here, and you should be able to just release this, proof of release right there, and you can print right there. So yeah, there's different ways to do it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Going back to the PARS listing, so as I mentioned, newer shipments are just shipments that are fairly new entering, Canada. Those are like shipments that you would just create, right? Like let's say the dispatcher creates an ACI manifest, the shipment is destined for Canada. So you would see all of the shipments pretty much that the dispatcher creates using the ACI eManifest, you will see right here. So these are the accepted shipments, which, sorry about that. The newest shipments, which CBSA has accepted, like, okay, these are actually going to enter Canada, and these are accepted. And now this will give you an overview of all of your shipments. And this is not just like, let's assume this particular carrier, maybe they were using another solution. The RNS will provide you with an overview of all the shipments. It doesn't matter which solution you use, you have full visibility in all of your shipments right over here. And if I go to PARS shipments, as I mentioned, release. So it goes from newest, accepted. Once the shipment is accepted, it goes into released. Once the shipment is released for the Canadian economy. Purge shipments, it's not that, we do see it here and there, but this means that, maybe the broker, they cleared it, but then they canceled the clearance. It could be for a reason of maybe they're missing information from the shipper. Maybe the carrier forgot to send them something, or Canada Customs, they can reject entries, transaction numbers. Maybe it's some sort of CFIA issue, things like that. But if you have any purge shipments not released within 30 days from CBSA, you will see them right over here, a list of your purge shipments. Okay, so right after you leave the purge shipments, you should be able to see, if you go to ACI Manifest, there's another solution. So RNS WACM, it's an all-in-one solution that it provides you with notices, it provides you with tracking, so it does all that in all-in-one solution. So if you go to ACI Manifest and click on Search ACI Notices, from here you should be able to view your notices. So ACI notices pretty much just advise you if the shipment is linked. There's an entry that's linked to that particular shipment. If there's a transaction number, if you click on that, let's say I want to click on this one here, I'll have full visibility. So as you can see, there's a notice type. This is an entry shipment, entry submitted to linked to ACI shipment. There's a document package complete. So that just means that it's cleared. And as you can see, on file with transaction number, that means that it's cleared from the customs broker. And it gives you all kinds of information. This is a highway mode of transport, EDI, there's a transaction number, the cargo control number. So it provides you with all the notices that you would need when it comes to, confirming everything is good to go. Let me see here. And you'll see all ACI notices for this particular shipment. Initially at 7:28, entry not on file. At 10:34 a.m., there was an entry that was linked to this shipment. And from there, you should be able to just see all that. And as you can see, this is an ACI shipment. So once the carrier created the shipment and they submitted the shipment details to CBSA, once the broker cleared it, they received all that. So they sent it, the broker cleared it. There's the notice that was sent from CBSA, the clearance. Okay, so we touched on released notices. So now if I go to search ACI notices, as you can see here, scroll down, I'll be able to see shipment, entry on file, there's transaction shipment released. So the ACI notices provides you with a full overview of shipments are on file, shipments released, and shipments cleared, things like that. And if there's any issues, so if let's say the carrier submits a shipment to CBSA, there's something wrong with it, it's rejected, you should be able to see it right over here in the list of your notices. And if I click on the shipment, I just want to quickly go over it with you guys here. So if I go to port of release, so if I click on here, I should be able to see everything this one's released. As you can see, there's a release on file, and it pretty much gives you an overview of everything that happened within this particular shipment. Now, then the last step I just want to advise is if you ever have any deconsolidated shipments, things like that, you would go ACI Manifest, tap on deconsolidated notices, and you should get a list of all of your deconsolidated shipments within this particular tab.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Egzon. That was very, very detailed and a lot of information there. Yes. I do have a couple other things I'd like to touch on while we're still on the RNS-PARS software.
Sure.
And maybe Justin, you can help out with this one.
Sure.
So a couple of the items that I'd like to discuss are, and maybe it's brief, but what are the RMD shipments? How does this fit into this topic? And also, let's say transaction numbers and declaration accept messages are coming in through RNS. How does either a driver get notified of this? Is there automated ways that BorderConnect sends out maybe information about this? And also from an internal perspective, maybe if you're a dispatcher and you're working on something else, how would you get notified?
Yeah, definitely. While I share my screen, the notifications there is another big benefit that I just somehow forgot to mention before when I was talking, but another good reason to get the RNS. Real quickly though, the RMD shipments, if you were looking, you may have saw when Egzon was speaking. What RMD is release on minimal documentation. So what this basically means is it crosses the border, maybe actually isn't cleared by a customs broker yet. A lot of times you see this with stuff going into Canada and it doesn't have an entry number from the broker, but the driver wants to cross. Well, they'll just take it in bond to their bonded warehouse in Mississauga or wherever, and basically they'll clear it after. The broker will then clear it as like an RMD type shipment. And if you have these kind of shipments, you can find the information here. Not really too much to go over, just another type of shipment and where you can find information specifically on them, just in that same PARS shipments tab. Those notifications though, Justin, really nice tool that a lot of carriers are using to receive those automatic updates. How I mentioned before, the RNS is super nice because at a quick glance, you can see all your shipments, which ones are cleared, which ones still don't have entries. But what if you don't even want to look at it? You just want the computer to tell you when they're cleared. Well, we actually have a system where on the driver profile, when you create a driver, yeah, you put in all the normal details, the first name, last name, license, passport, but there's also an option to add notification options, both email and cell phone. Email obviously sends an email, and a cell phone is just going to send a text message when we receive specific updates on a manifest or a shipment. So you'll see a couple different ones, primary and secondary, email and cell phones. So you can actually add the driver's email and then the driver's cell phone. And then also you can add maybe the dispatch email, or maybe the driver has a US and a Canadian cell phone. You could put both of them here. Maybe the driver drives with his wife and they both want to receive the messages. Or maybe you just want the dispatch on both and you want the cell phone here. Whatever option you want to put in, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it, whatever works for you. One quick tidbit about the cell phones, you actually do have to add the carrier. So you'll put in their phone number, and then if that specific phone plan is with AT&T, Bell, Verizon, TELUS, you just select it from the list, and that's pretty much all you have to do. The last step is just kind of saying, what notifications do you want to actually receive automatically? So you'll see both ACE and ACI on file, where when the manifest gets accepted, we'll shoot an email, a text message over to you and say, hey, your manifest that you're on is now accepted. That part is good because it lets the drivers know that, hey, their manifest is on file. As a dispatcher who's filing it, they probably know that it's on file because they're the ones sending it. But the more important ones in my eyes is the PARS and the PAPS updates. These are going to be the notifications that basically when a PARS number on that manifest comes in and a transaction number for those, and the driver's on that same manifest, when we get that RNS message that says, hey, here's the transaction number, we're going to automatically send a message to the driver, his text, his email, and say, hey, this PARS number you have, it's now accepted. This is your transaction number. Basically, hey, you're good to go. So now instead of going to the website and saying, hey, are all my shipments good? The driver just says, oh, look, my phone told me I'm good to cross the border. Time to go to the border and go.
Rock and roll.
Exactly.
Nice. Great. Thanks, Justin. That was great. Yeah, so it's super easy and essentially hands off, which will, I guess, kind of dovetails into my new question and portion that I'd like to cover with Egzon, if you're okay with it. So the notifications, I'm assuming the RNS notifications that are sent out, in most cases, almost all cases, I'm assuming in BorderConnect, are associated to specific ACI eManifests, right?
Yes. In most cases, that's the case. But you could, we also have full overview of shipments that are associated with, if they're created somewhere else. Yes, it's an ACI eManifest, but they don't have to be created in BorderConnect in this case, they can be created wherever, right? So we have full overview of all the shipments entering Canada for that particular carrier, for that particular carrier code. So I'll give you a quick rundown. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. And I'll
I'm curious to see how it marries into the ACI
Yes.
eManifests that we have as well.
Definitely.
The benefits of that.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So if you go to ACI Manifest and click search ACI Manifests, as you can see, this particular carrier, they have multiple shipments, and these shipments right here, they're cleared. So they're released and cleared. So if I scroll down, scroll all the way down, let me just go into this particular shipment. So if I go into this shipment, you should be able to see the cargo control number, the transaction number. So this is already cleared. Once the customs broker cleared it, there's a transaction number that was transmitted via RNS. So pretty much RNS is retrieving that data from CBSA that is cleared and good to go. If I scroll down here really quick, I'll show you the history of that particular shipment. So if I scroll down a little bit, so you'll see at 3:33 p.m. entry was not on file. And then there was an entry linked to the ACI shipment with a transaction number. So that pretty much advises that the customs broker cleared the load, and RNS has advised, they found the shipment, they found the clearance, and they're marrying up the PARS and the transaction number together and linking it up to the manifest. So that pretty much advises this particular carrier that this load is cleared and is good to go. If you want to confirm things, if I just click on this number, if I just go here, if I just attach this particular number, I copy it, and I go to PARS shipments. We want to remember this is released. So if I go to PARS shipments and I go to released, I should be able to find it. And it's this one actually at the top. From here, I should be able to I can print a proof of release. So the ACI manifest and the PARS shipment section right over here, they work together. So if you're kind of curious of, let me take a quick look at the shipment. Is it in my PARS shipment section? It is. And as you can see, they all work together. So from the ACI manifest portion, you'll be able to view the shipments within the PARS shipments tab under released or accepted shipments. You can also send what's called, I will send status queries. So if you're kind of curious about a shipment, a particular shipment, maybe the shipment's not created in BorderConnect, maybe it's created somewhere else. You can click on send new status query, and then you can just add the cargo control number right here. You can just make it up. And then you can just send a status query. When you send a status query on a cargo control number, you're asking Canada Customs for an update on that particular number. It can take maybe a few minutes. It really depends on CBSA. But once CBSA comes back, they'll either advise that it's released or it says broker awaiting CBSA processing. So what that means is that we're just waiting for the customs broker to clear it. Error returned, cargo control number not on file with CBSA. That just means that there's nothing on file from the broker's end. So the broker hasn't even started to clear this particular shipment. And so it gives you a nice bit of a visibility on these shipments. So sometimes if you just want a quicker update, like I see it within the accept the shipment tabs, but I just want to ask CBSA if there's something new, you can always send a status query on that shipment.
That's really cool. I was just thinking actually while you were talking, status queries and also the PARS listing page. You could send status queries and basically find out if maybe the broker, at least from the PARS listing page, you can find out if the broker maybe made a typo. You might see the PARS listing page, I'm assuming, and see, oh, they added an extra 1 or an extra digit or something like that. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you're on the ACI looking at it like you have the correct PARS number. Yes. You're like, why isn't this cleared? The broker says it's cleared. Where you can then go back to the PARS listing page, see that number with maybe an extra digit in it or some sort of typo, and then be able to contact the broker and be like, hey, listen, you did submit it, but with the wrong number. I'm assuming in use cases like that, it would be beneficial.
Yes, you're right, exactly. And the good thing, as you mentioned, if you could query CRNs like cargo control numbers, you can query transaction numbers. So sometimes there's cases where the customs broker is like, hey, we cleared it. Here's a transaction number. Everything is good to go. So you can query that transaction number that the customs broker gives you just to confirm. Because the broker's advising is cleared, but you're still not getting the transaction number. You're sure everything is good. You can just go here, add the transaction number the customs broker gives you. You can send a status query on the transaction number, and that gives you an overview of which number that broker actually used to clear the load. So it's a great tool for that as well.
Great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can see everything. You can
Yes, there's full
see if the broker made a
visibility.
mistake,
Yep.
verify information. Great. All right. So in our last chapter, I'd like to cover what else BorderConnect RNS-PARS offers, not necessarily just for highway carriers, but also for warehouses. Because the software also extends to RNS Warehouse Arrivals, which helps Canadian sufferance warehouses transmit the required electronic warehouse arrival certification messages, or WACM for short, to Canada Border Services Agency, which informs CBSA that inbound shipments arrive at their warehouses. So Egzon, if you don't mind, maybe touching on that, leading us into the warehouse arrivals and who would use it, who benefits, and how it works.
Yep. So WACM is a warehouse release arrival certification message. It's primarily for sufferance warehouses. So it's for Canadian bonded, sufferance warehouses, things like that. But they want to report arrival of freight to their warehouse. So let's assume I have a warehouse, Egzon Sufferance Warehouse. I'm based in Toronto, and I have a carrier that's going to be bringing freight to my warehouse. To arrive the freight, I would have to use what's called WACM. So I would just log into BorderConnect, which I'll show in a bit, and I would perform the WACM arrival. So when you perform a WACM arrival, you're just advising CBSA that this particular cargo control number is going to arrive at my warehouse, sorry. And then once it's released, you would send the release notification to CBSA that the freight has left your warehouse. So it basically just helps out sufferance warehouses report the arrival of inbound shipments at their particular, warehouse location. And they're all transmitted using the release notification system. So as you can see, RNS works with pretty much RNS is all over the place, if you want to call it. It works for WACM, it works for your ACI shipments. It pretty much gathers all that data over from CBSA. Let me just share my screen quickly for you here. Okay, so when it comes to WACM, it's very easy, very straightforward. You would go to PARS shipments, and then you will click on arrival request, send new RNS arrival. Send new RNS arrival. So from here, you would go down, and then you would add the cargo control number that's arriving at your warehouse. So there could be many cargo control numbers. I mean, it's not only one, right? Sometimes you have trucks that have 10, 20, 30, 1,000 shipments. So you can add the cargo control numbers that are arriving at your warehouse. So let's say it's 12AB1, then you can just do comma, or you can do this. So there's all kinds of visibility of when you can add your shipments, and you can add as many shipments as you need right over here. You just have to separate by a comma or a space. Pretty much, you can just space them. And then the warehouse sublocation code. If you're a company that's a sufferance warehouse in BorderConnect, this is a pre-filled. But I mean, if it's not pre-filled, then you just have to find your code. So either you would add your name or your number. So let's say it's 2141, the arrival date, when did it arrive at your warehouse, arrival time, and a reference number. So that if there's some sort of reference number that you want to advise CBSA of, like, hey, this is maybe a trailer number or something, this is what arrived at my particular warehouse, you can add a reference number, and then you would just send an arrival to CBSA. The next step is once you perform the arrival, you can go to PARS and you'll do arrival request search. As you can see from my example, this particular company, they don't perform any arrivals, but that's pretty much the two options that you would be working off as a warehouse client. So you would go send new RNS arrival, you would arrive it, then you would do arrival request search. And from there, you can view your arrival request searches. Okay, so I'll pivot over to Justin Guerard. He'll kind of delve a little bit deeper when it comes to WACM arrivals and going over the viewing your arrivals.
Yeah, thank you, Egzon.
That's good.
Oh, sorry. All right, so I'm in an account here who is one of those warehouse sufferance arrivals, and like Egzon was shown before, basically you'd go click on the send new RNS arrival, type in your cargo control numbers that you need to arrive, whatever warehouse you're arriving them to, date, time, etc., and then send the arrival request. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Once you click that send, it's going to take you to the arrival request search, where it shows a listing of all your previous cargo control numbers that you have arrived. You'll see the request date, when you sent that arrival request, when we got the response back from customs. As you can see, it's pretty quick, usually within a minute, sometimes a little bit lower, but all of these ones pretty fast. So yeah, you just kind of send the request, say, hey, customs, this freight's coming into our warehouse. And that's pretty much it. After that, you just basically double check the list, and when you get the response after a minute or so, make sure that the status is a status that you'd want to see. And that's pretty much all you have to do a WACM arrival.
Great, thanks, Justin. While we're on this page, can we cover some of the common responses you might get from CBSA? When warehouses might know that, okay, it's accepted, the arrival request was accepted, or any common errors that you might get?
Yeah, of course. So I could go through and find some examples, but all of the expected statuses and responses can be found on our wiki. And just for anyone who is not aware, our support wiki is here 24/7 for any client or even non-client of BorderConnect. It provides a ton of general customs knowledge and obviously BorderConnect support stuff. And this warehouse arrival certification message guide is super helpful, especially with these different responses that you're gonna come across. All of these messages here in green are kind of the good messages you want to see. Basically, released, arrived, already arrived, we can't do it, already arrived with a different port. All of these are messages that basically are saying, hey, the request you sent to us is already done, so no action needs to be taken. Then you'll get some of these other ones where some kind of action needs to be taken, like arrival office doesn't match what we've actually put it as, or the brokers put it as. And same with this one down here, arrival work location code must be the same. Typically, one of these kind of errors means either whatever we are submitting or whatever the broker is submitting, there's some kind of disconnect, some kind of mismatch that we need to correct, or the broker needs to correct before we can actually send that arrival and have it actually get accepted. And then these other messages that, dependent on the situation, it's successfully, like this one, held for exam. You maybe don't technically have to do anything, but it's not perfectly arrived. It's not finished yet. You can't just forget about it. You know what I mean? There's still maybe look into this one a little bit. But yeah, these responses, most of the ones you're going to come across is it's just going to be normal, straightforward, arrive, but depending on situation, you will run into different scenarios. And my first recommendation would be, if it's something you're not familiar with or just is odd, I would recommend reaching out to the wiki, try to see if any of these make sense in the action for those ones, if it obviously is doable or makes sense to you. And then once again, if there's any confusion, I'm not too sure, our support is always here 24/7. So you can always give us a phone, a call, a chat, online chat, whatever. We're always here 24/7, happy to help. But these are generally the kind of messages you see. And probably 9 times out of 10, it's just going to say something along the lines of arrived, and you can just forget about it because it was done successfully.
Great. Thanks, Justin. Egzon, I do have a couple of questions if we want to pivot back to the regulatory and the registration process for WACM when it comes to BorderConnect.
Yes.
So I guess the first question I have is, are there any specific documents they need to prove that they can use it? They can use it? Like, can anybody just use warehouse arrival certification messages? And also, who's responsible for transmitting warehouse arrival certification messages?
Yeah, so good question. So basically what we need on our end is we need to confirm their sublocation code. So warehouses have what's called a sublocation code. It's just, if you want to call it, like a carrier code that advises clients that this carrier belongs to this particular company. Sublocations have their own sublocation code. And we also advise them to send us over what's called a warehouse license, a certificate. Within that certificate, you'll have their sublocation, you'll have the port relation, because usually the sublocations are related to the nearest CBSA port, and you'll have their name, their address, things like that. So whenever we have clients that want to sign up for our services to transmit WACM, we advise them to give them to give us their sublocation, to give us their certificate. Once we get all that information, we have to confirm that it's actually valid within the CBSA website. Once we confirm that information, we'll print out the ACI and RNS applications, and we'll transmit them over to CBSA for approval once the client signs the applications. And that can take upwards to 10 business days. But once CBSA has approved the applications, then the client's ready to go and start processing the manifests. And the second question, to answer your second question, there's 2 options. So The first option is the warehouse operator that at that particular warehouse, they can arrive it. So they have a service in place, warehouses, where they can go and arrive the freight. Or they can use a service provider such as BorderConnect to arrive their freight whenever it arrives via WACM. So let's assume I was working somewhere at a warehouse. I could use, my in-house solution, whatever it may be, or I could just use BorderConnect. I can sign up with BorderConnect. I can go in there and arrive the freight. But the operators are usually the ones that are responsible for performing the arrivals, the warehouse operators or the keepers, as they're called.
Great. Thanks for the information. So you have to actually be a warehouse. You can't just be like some sort of random third party arriving messages. You have to
Exactly. No, you have to be a certified sufferance warehouse, Canadian sufferance warehouse. Yes. Yeah.
So which warehouse types are required to send WACMs?
So basically, it's for all operators, all types. So basically, anything that's CVSA licensed sufferance warehouses, you're supposed to be sending those arrival messages using WACM. So it doesn't matter, like when it comes to, sometimes you might have somebody that says, "Hey, I'm a small warehouse," or yeah, are you guys certified? Great. Then you have to use WACM to perform the arrival. So it doesn't really matter if you are a custom certified sufferance warehouse, you need to perform the arrivals using WACM.
Okay, great. Makes sense. If you're already set up with RNS though, like, would you need to re-register, or if you already are registered as an entity through RNS, can you just skip that
so
process?
we would have to, if you're already set up with RNS, then it really depends, right? The situation. Sometimes we have companies that are they're a carrier division, and they also have a sufferance division. So if they have RNS set up for that carrier division, then we need to get RNS set up for their sublocation. So because we have to set them up for what's called a mailbox ID connected from CBSA to BorderConnect, so we can transmit data, using WACM for that particular sufferance warehouse. So yes, I mean, if let's assume maybe they say that they're using something else and they're already set up for RNS in that solution, whatever solution they're using, we still have to get their RNS set up in BorderConnect. So yes, they would have to fill out an RNS application if they're not set up with BorderConnect.
Awesome. Great. Sounds pretty straightforward again. Let's go over the pricing, shall we? And also maybe show potential new customers that they might have access to BorderConnect's RNS for free.
Yes, perfect. Give me 1 second, Justin. I'll share my screen here with you. Just give me 1 moment. Okay, perfect. So pricing right here. So as you can see, our pricing is shipment based, just like how we invoice carriers. It all depends on monthly shipment volume. The free plan up to 20 RNS arrivals. So we have, warehouses that perform maybe 1 or 2 on a monthly basis. They won't have to pay anything. So up to 20 per month, there's no charge. Up to 75 RNS arrivals is $79.95, and then it goes up from there. It really depends on your volume, but it's not what's called a static plan. So let's say you do 75 shipments in 1 month, you will pay $79.95. But let's say the next month you only do, let's say 10, right? You won't pay anything because you'll fall under the free plan. I just want to advise when it comes to these sort of RNS, WACM, things like that. The way we invoice is per WACM arrival and release shipments. So within the WACM system, RNS WACM system, we will count your total release shipments for the month and your total arrived shipments that you're arriving using WACM, and that goes towards your monthly usage, and that's how we will bill you depending on that particular volume, just because we don't want our clients being confused. Let's say you have somebody that goes in there, does 2 arrivals using WACM, and they say, or not 2, but they do, let's say 70, and they say, oh, why is it more? Because we're counting your released, we're counting your WACM. So you just want to make sure that but you also have an overview of all that. So when you have an account with BorderConnect, you can view your release shipments. As I mentioned, you can go to the release section, you can view how many you did for the month, and your WACMs, you can just count them. Like I did like 10 arrivals. And then that's when you get an overview of how much you will be paying per month. And it's all dynamic, so it can depend on your volume. Maybe 1 month you pay something, maybe for the rest of the month you don't pay anything. And the first month is a 30-day trial period. So we'll get you going. You'll get an account set up. We'll get you going. We'll make sure you're all ready to go. And then for the first month, you won't have to pay anything and give it a go. You can kind of learn the ropes of using WACM and RNS. And then after that, you can confirm your subscription.
Okay, well, that pricing seems pretty transparent for warehouses. So if they're using, let's say they're using a customer, we have a highway carrier that's using PARS with ACI.
Sure.
How much does that cost?
So basically, when it comes to PARS, if they're using it just for creating ACI manifests, it wouldn't cost anything. We would just invoice them depending on their volume, their shipment volume. So it would just follow under what's called our eManifest software pricing. So the carrier would just pretty much pay however many shipments they're hauling per month. So up to 40 shipments, that would be free. And then it kind of goes up from there. So if they're just utilizing BorderConnect for ACI manifesting, and they're not a warehouse or anything like that, then they would be paying this sort of price, this pricing here right here, up to 40 shipments. It's free, and then goes up from there.
Oh, great. So RNS is included with customers that are already using ACI.
Yes. Yep.
Great. No hidden fees, nothing. Okay, that's awesome.
Nothing like that. No, nothing like that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Egzon. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Justin, again, thanks for your time and information on BorderConnect's RNS-PARS software.
My
The pricing
pleasure.
seems pretty transparent. And to you out there watching, if you made it this far, thanks for joining us in this edition of BorderConnect's Virtual Workshop. If you enjoyed this video, we invite you to like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you're not currently registered with BorderConnect, you can easily register for a free 45-day trial at BorderConnect.com. And just make sure you enter code EASY45 when registering. Thanks for watching. Hi, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you'd like to watch more videos like this, check out these videos here or subscribe below. If you're not already signed up to BorderConnect, you can sign up today for a free 45-day trial using special promo code EASY45. Thanks for watching.